All right. Before I exact my long-awaited revenge, I want to thank Jonathan and Chandra for the incredible weekend that they have set up to celebrate their marriage. The way you have worked together for this flawless weekend is an example of your incredible partnership. It's already better than the State of the Union. I also wanted to thank my Uncle Stephen for a beautiful and efficient ceremony. Who would have thought that the man who maliciously used his label maker 20 years ago to mark all of my brother's possessions as with onions would officiate our wedding tonight? For those who don't know me, my name is Brian, Jonathan's younger and only brother. 51 months ago, as my best man, Jonathan roasted me for 12 minutes, going so far as giving away my password for all of my internet accounts. As I spent time on my honeymoon, changing passwords instead of paying attention to my wife, I vowed to get him back. I began compiling a list of things to say about him, and the list got longer and longer. So if my speech is long-winded, blame him for taking so long to find you, Chandra. But I promise that my speech will not last any longer than it takes for you to do your hair every morning. So here we go. Let's start 29 years ago when Jonathan became a big brother. Our relationship got off to a rocky start as Jonathan repeatedly tried to kill me. He pushed me out of my baby seat onto the kitchen floor, resulting in a fractured skull. And when that didn't finish me off, he stood outside, trying to throw rocks through my bedroom window into my crib, actually succeeding in breaking a window. But not only did you fail in killing me, that rock throw actually represented the peak of your arm strength as a pitcher. After realizing murder wasn't working, Jonathan embarked on the next best thing, torture. When we got sent to our rooms after misbehaving, Jonathan would run upstairs first, steal one of my stuffed animals. Minutes later, he'd slip a note under my door that said, "Tell Mom it was your fault or I'd chop off Kermit's head." The torture wasn't just mental. For his 13th birthday, he asked for goalie pads to play street hockey. On his birthday, he excitedly unwrapped the goalie pads, hugged my parents, politely said thank you, then violently threw the leg pads at me, shouting, "Put these on, I want to shoot." The benefit of all this early abuse was that as we got older, all the normal fighting and sibling rivalry dissipated, and I was left with a best friend. We defied our early bedtimes by developing a language, communicating by knocking on the wall separating our bedrooms. Knowing I was a bad sleeper, Jonathan used to calm me down. One of my favorite memories came after getting home from Hawaii. I was having trouble adjusting to the time difference, and we both set up sleeping bags in the den to watch TV until I fell asleep. And even as he entered his awkward and judgmental high school and college years, filled with big decisions and frosted tips, the pattern continued. I was always welcome to hang out with Jared, Doug, and Strami when they came over. Yeah! Even as I made fun of them for hopelessly tracking down girls in AOL chat rooms. None of them were models, by the way. When my brother got his license, he continued to drive me around long past that it's cool to be driving phase. At Brandeis, he invited me to stay with him and taught me the finer points of dorm life. We both arranged trips back from college around Giants and Rangers games, so my dad and the sports monsters he created could celebrate or complain together. And when I got married first, well before him, there was never even a hint of jealousy, just joy and support. So when my brother called saying he was getting serious with someone he met online, Jessica, my wife, and I were ecstatic, but skeptical, so we wanted to meet Chandra. Once we did, and realized she was in fact real, and not a 65-year-old man cruising the internet for a good time, we were thrilled. Chandra is everything I could have ever hoped for in a sister-in-law. She's funny, intelligent, can cook, and has some very impressive home improvement skills, an area in which my brother operates as if he lacks opposable thumbs. Chandra, this is probably a very good time to mention that the Schwartz family has a very strict no-return policy. Now, even though Jonathan was able to snag a catch like Chandra, that doesn't mean he was always smooth with the ladies. He may be the better looking of the Schwartz brothers, but he will not deny always coming to me for girl advice. And I'm not talking just recently. We're going way back. I distinctly remember being summoned into his room when he was 16. I was 13, mind you. His face was bleach white. "Brian," he said, "teach me how to talk to girls." I looked down, and in one hand was the phone, and in the other a notebook with a list of things to say to the poor soul he was going to call. The first line in the notebook was, "Hi, how are you?" He needed some help. And while he has obviously done quite well for himself since, I want you to know that I'm always here to help. If you ever need marital advice, one could say that I'm uniquely qualified to help you specifically. Not because I've been married longer, but because I have an advanced degree in dealing with fiery half-Italian women who have a tendency to speak their minds. Now, before I get to my final story, I want Chandra to be aware of the finer points of her husband. One last roundup of what she has gotten herself into. So I present the top 10 Jonathan Schwartz facts. Number 1, my brother slept with a nightlight until he was 18. These aren't in any particular order. Number 2, as a kid, he ate tuna fish. Once he realized tuna was a fish, he stopped. Number 3, my mom used to leave her index fingernail intentionally long because he would eat pizza without chewing, and she frequently had to dive in to dig out the cheese. Number 4, he once fell asleep in a tanning bed. Everything but little Jonathan was burnt to a crisp. Number 5, he was an economics major at Brandeis. This may come as a shock to you, since Jonathan believes supply and demand is drinking protein shakes after an insanity workout. He also holds a minor in international studies, which is ironic because he has no desire to ever leave the country. On a road trip to South Carolina, Jonathan crossed the George Washington Bridge into New Jersey. He looked at the signs and decided it would be prudent to go north. Number 7. One summer, Jonathan threw a party while my parents and I were away. They called him out on it when we got back, and when he asked how they knew, they told him it was because the house was too clean. Number 8. Chandra, 6 months into your relationship, I asked him if you two had discussed the future. His reply verbatim, quote, "Yes, we discussed some kids' names we both like, and I told her I want a urinal in my house." I did not ask which was more important, but I do know which one of you will be installing it. Number 9. When Jonathan went looking for engagement rings, he thought a trillion-cut diamond was a diamond in a bunch of tiny little pieces. True, it's really. And number 10, lastly, here's an actual list of hair care products he has used. Peroxide, Suave, Highlights, American Crew, Sun-In, Bedhead, Axe Pomade Whatever Look, and something called Got To Be Glued, which I can only assume is the reason why I have not seen his hair move since the Bush administration. The first one. Finally, I wanted to share a last story about our bride and groom, one that has been alluded to earlier tonight. There was a family gathering at my parents' house, and my mom was talking to my mother-in-law, Christine, and Chandra's name came up. And they had been dating for a while, and my mom had gotten to know her, and my mom, who apparently was really trying to hammer this point home, leaned into Christine and whispered in her ear, "Christine, I really like this girl. He better not screw this up." And if anything speaks to how much everyone in our family loves Chandra, but how little faith we have in Jonathan, that has to be it. And luckily for all of us here today, you didn't screw it up. And I know I speak on behalf of everyone when I wish you two nothing but success and eternal happiness as you embark upon your lives together. I can't wait to see our family grow and spend holidays together, not just as siblings, but as uncles and dads. So if everyone could raise their glass. Which you're going to have to do again, all, so don't drink it all. To Jonathan and Chandra, here's to a lifetime filled with adventure, love, and laughter. Cheers. Yeah.